Welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to be just tinkering around on it, whatever I want to tinker around on it. It's a beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky. But I've got this 92 F150 with the straight 6 300 in it. Great truck, paid $700 for it. Just couldn't be happier. But like any other $700 vehicle, it needs a little bit of work for here and there. But nothing substantial today. What I want to do is repair this tailgate. Sorry for the light. So the tailgate has been, just broken in half here. I'm not sure how that ripped or fatigue or whatever it is, but I'm going to try to repair this. I tossed around two different ideas. One is just putting sheet metal over this, using a bunch of self-tappers to hold it down, and then grinding it all down and welding it. But I think the joints might be close enough where I can try to weld it just as it were. It's really hard to get good welding video, but I'm going to take a stab at this with the flux core MIG welder and see if I can't improve that a little bit. Most of the people have seen my little welding table cart thing here. Well, it's not a table at all, it's just my cart. It's my Lincoln tombstone down there. This is from Northern Tool, I think. Flux core welder. It's a handy tool. I prefer MIG stick welders, or a gas MIG welder. We've got another one of those in the back, but this one's easier to get out, so it's great. And then back here is the plasma cutter. I don't think I have any footage of the plasma cutter. I haven't used it very much. I used it last week for a little bit. It's a fun little tool. But today will be the MIG welder, so let me get that fired up. So I've got that piece welded in the back. I'm horrible at doing this kind of stuff. Mad Styles has got a great channel where he's working on a VW. If you want to see body work, go check out his channel. But for all intents and purposes, what I wanted to do is firm up this tailgate, keep it from breaking anymore, and that's not going anywhere. And then when I tightened up these bolts here, it actually shuts a little bit better than it did before. The next problem is sort of an ergonomic issue. The seat is sunk in. When you sit in it, you feel like a little kid. And I think what's happened, don't know if you'll be able to see it, but the spring, can you see that spring in there, how it's falling down? I'm going to take this out. Looks like there's 4 bolts holding the seat in. Take the seat out and see if I can't get that reattached to make this a little bit more comfortable. Alright, so I got the seat out. I've got a 1000-watt amp and a 12-inch subwoofer in here, so radio on this thing sounds pretty good. Alright, now the seat. I'm actually happy to see this. I'm glad the foam's not worn out because the foam is so expensive. It looks like they shoved some sort of carpet in here or something to puff it back up. I'm sure we can do better than that. Alright, let me get this broken down. Well, I cut off the video when I started to sort of freestyle, if you will. The last thing you saw, I was tying this wire up with that safety tie wire, and I was confident that I had a bunch of these springs and I couldn't find them. I thought I could tie it all back together, and I realized this isn't going to work. I struggled to find a piece of wire this size, so I ended up breaking the flux off of a welding rod and trying to tie back these original things, but they started breaking. I took some of this pull tape, and this is what they use for pulling wire through conduits and whatnot. The reason it's flat is so that it doesn't dig a channel into the PVC when they're pulling the wire. And you can pick this stuff up for really cheap at flea markets and whatnot. So I tied that across the length of it, and I still didn't feel very good about the whole thing. And I just saw this piece of plywood laying there. I said, you know, why not? So I shoved the plywood in there and then realized there's probably enough room for a 2x4. So I just put a self-tapper in to hold the 2x4 in place, and then I've got some wood glue, and wood glue these days is just outstanding. It really is going to hold. So I got some wood glue on there so that my butt isn't ever going to hit a screw or something that went in too far. So I think that'll work, and I don't know, I think this is going to work pretty good. I'm really happy that the foam wasn't the deteriorated part, because I think the foam for this is like $300 before shipping, maybe more. The whole thing is just, any of the interior components for this old body style Ford, they're all just outrageous prices. I mean, when you can't get a seat and cushions for, I mean, I can buy the whole truck. Literally, I can buy the whole vehicle for cheaper than I can buy the seat, which is crazy. So anyway, let me go ahead and wrestle this back in, bolt it down, and then we'll see how it works. Alright, so I got the seat fixed. The wood, the piece of plywood and the 2x4 in there seemed to firm this up quite a bit. You know, I wouldn't want to ride across the country in this, you know, even if it was new, probably. It's a great truck, but it's not the most comfortable thing. So the plywood seems to firm everything up, and I think that sort of leaves less room for doubt in terms of failure. The spring system that they had in there, the only thing that makes sense to me is that it was extraordinarily cheap to do. I mean, you take just some wire and some rods and some springs, and then, you know, you've got the suspension system, and that has to be just, you know, value engineering at its best. So I would think that some firmer system, like an old car with the big springs, that would have been more expensive. This was just a cheaper way out. So anyway, I went even cheaper and used what I had laying around. So I got the cab cleaned up. My other thing that I'd like to fix one of these days is the dashboard is all cracked in here. But, you know, she's no beauty queen, so it's good enough. Remember I was talking about LEDs? The LED kits for these things are so cheap, and it makes such a big difference. It really doesn't do it any justice now, but it looks like a Saturn V rocket taking off when I open the door at night in this thing, so I'm really happy with the LEDs. Again, you've heard me rave about the ladder rack. Love that stuff. And these tires, you know, I don't go off-road very much, but, well, if ever. But I figured go into the dump a lot, I would need some mud tires, so I bought these Patagonias off of Amazon. I think I paid $110 or something like that for them. And I don't know, they don't have too many miles on it. The odometer doesn't work on this, so I don't know how many miles I got on the truck. When I bought it, the guy said he thought I had 300,000, but it doesn't act like it, so. Alright, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I hope you're having a good weekend.